Hello friends. While we all may feel like Rose at the end of Titanic, Final Fantasy VII Remake has finally, thankfully arrived. This week on Heat Vision Breakdown, we're taking a trip back to Midgar with Cloud and company to explore the beloved RPG and why its popularity has never waned over 23 years. We also have a very special guest joining us, Cody Christian, star of the new Final Fantasy VII Remake. Thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, what's up guys? It's Cody Christian, Hollywood reporter. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to talk Final Fantasy.
Final Fantasy VII debuted on January 31st, 1997, 3 years after initial development on the title began in 1994. Yes, it took 3 years to make the original game and 23 years for the remake. I'm kidding. Square Enix began work on Final Fantasy VII after the release of Final Fantasy VI on the Super Nintendo system, a time when both the company and the video game industry as a whole was at a crossroads. On the precipice of 3D gaming, Square had a decision to make. Continue with the 2D design of past Final Fantasy titles or embrace the burgeoning 3D technology that would quickly become the industry standard. Initially, Final Fantasy VII was designed as a 2D game, but struggles to wrap up another Square title, 1995's Chrono Trigger, one of the best games ever, pulled much of the Final Fantasy VII team away from the project temporarily. When they returned to Final Fantasy VII, they realized the times they had changed, as Bob Dylan would say. The future of 3D was undeniable, and the Square team made the risky decision to switch Final Fantasy VII's development to fully 3D, a first for the Final Fantasy series. That proved to be an issue for Square's longtime partner Nintendo, however, as the console maker's latest offering, the Nintendo 64, which utilized cartridge technology and not the compact disc of its new competitor, the Sony PlayStation, experienced frame rate issues when running a demo of the game. Square made the landmark decision to jump ship for Sony. The move was one of the biggest divorces in gaming history, a sore spot that wasn't smoothed over until years later. Luckily, Nintendo and Square have since patched things up, and now we can enjoy classic Final Fantasy titles while on a bus, or on a plane, or anywhere else we used to be able to go. The decision to embrace the future and 3D graphics proved to be a wise one for Square, as the marketing for Final Fantasy VII fully showcased the game's astonishing visuals at the time. I mean, at the time, they were very remarkable, okay? Even the initial commercial campaign for the game was more reminiscent of Hollywood blockbusters than other video games. I mean, look at it. Goosebumps. With a sprawling and often very confusing story, dozens of unique characters, fully rendered cutscenes, and an astoundingly deep combat system, all spread across 3 discs, Final Fantasy VII rocked the world when it debuted in 1997. Garnering almost universal critical acclaim, the game sold more than 500,000 copies in its first 3 weeks. By the end of the original PlayStation's run, Final Fantasy VII had sold more than any other title on the console except Gran Turismo, and re-established Final Fantasy as one of the most popular and best-selling franchises in gaming. What set Final Fantasy VII apart cannot simply be boiled down to one aspect of the game. The visuals, the music, and the epic scope of its narrative were all major components of Final Fantasy VII's marketing, but once players got their hands on the game, they realized that was just one facet of what would become an enduring masterpiece in gaming. Okay, that's a lot of info. Cody, what was your favorite part about the original?
Honestly, my favorite parts of the original Final Fantasy was the storytelling, was the dialogue. But as everyone knows, in the original there were no voice actors, so everything was kind of internalized and played in your own mind.
Perhaps what Final Fantasy VII did best is something of a magic trick in both storytelling and game design. The game constantly misdirected its audience, opening with a story about a group of eco-terrorists attempting to save the world from a monolithic, oppressive corporation draining the planet of natural resources. This, however, is just a smokescreen, or the rudimentary stage on which the true story of Final Fantasy VII eventually plays out. A battle against an even larger threat and a journey to the interior of the characters' selves as much as it is a quest to save the world. Final Fantasy VII's gameplay mechanics are revealed in much the same way. The materia system is deceptively simple at first. Want magic? Equip the fire materia. Want to heal? Cure materia. Sounds easy enough, but the true depth of combinations as the game progresses is almost endless. An unseen level of customization and experimentation for its time, and one that has scarcely been topped in the following 2+ decades. The characters themselves also upended expectations. The badass ex-elite soldier is not as accomplished a warrior as he seems. The stubborn leader of an eco-terrorist group is actually fighting against his own past as much as he is for the future of the planet. The sweet-natured flower girl may be the world's greatest help and salvation, up until... Oh, wait, no, sorry, spoilers. The remake goes even further, delving into the backstories of supporting characters to flesh them out into fully formed members of the group. Likewise, the main cast also sees significant depth added to their narratives. Focusing on just the opening section of the game, which takes place in the sprawling city of Midgar, Final Fantasy VII Remake places a microscope on the opening section of the original game, expanding it significantly. So, Cody, what can you tell us about your character in this new iteration of the game?
I think I pulled a lot of inspiration from the original depiction of the character, from Steve Burton. He really paved a way in bringing this character to life, so my reimagination of it pulls a lot of inspiration from him. So paying homage to the original and paving a new way, so to speak, for this character in the future generation.
No, 2000's enough. That's what we agreed on, so that'll be the price.
While some were skeptical of Square's decision to focus on just the opening hours of the original, we all remember the Hobbit trilogy, after all, the remake avoids feeling thin for content, or as if it is stretching out areas just for the sake of filling time. It is also loaded with references for die-hard fans, not only for Final Fantasy VII, but for the franchise as a whole. What Final Fantasy VII Remake presents is both a nod to its roots, but also a willingness to shake up the formula and conventions of an iconic title. Remaking what is widely considered to be a classic and one of the touchstones for an entire industry is no easy task. Add in the high expectations and the years upon years that fans have waited to get their hands on another trip to Midgar, and it's nearly impossible. But the fervor also shows the lasting impact and influence of Square's 1997 adventure, a game that not only set the bar for a new generation in gaming, but also influenced the entire trajectory of the industry in every decade since. Alright Cody, one last question. What is your favorite part of any Final Fantasy title?
I think my opinion is going to be a little biased here, but I'm going to go with the ending of Final Fantasy VII, the remake. And the reason being is because I don't think it's what you expect. I think this reimagination of the game pays homage to OG fans, but also opens this world up for an entirely new demographic to come in here, to fall in love with this world, to fall in love with these characters and this story. This game, you're in for one hell of a ride. So I hope you really, really enjoy it. It's been an absolute pleasure working on it. Please enjoy Final Fantasy VII, the remake. Let me know what you think.